Are we to take from your criticism of the Lieutenant Governor that you will not appoint any Democrats to chair committees?
No, what I said was, and I wasn't busting his chops, I'm talking about leadership issues, okay? The issue is, Evan, we have 18 committees.
Yep.
A third of those are chaired by Democrats. Half of the Democrat delegation are chairmen of committees.
Isn't that proportional roughly to the body as it is?
I'm just giving you a number. You
Right.
could, okay?
Yeah.
Half of them. Meanwhile, we have 19 Republicans, and there were a few freshmen, and freshmen
Right.
are usually not chairmen or not chairmen. But we have some great conservative Republicans who I believe should be chairs and are qualified to be chairs.
Right.
And we are the majority party. We do have a Republican lieutenant governor. The voters out there work really hard in the grassroots to elect Republicans.
Yep.
And so if the grassroots and the vast majority of the voters in the state are electing Republicans to position, then I think that Republicans should have a key say in the bills that come before committees and the bills that pass.
Does that mean you do something different than
as a
Lieutenant
chairman of education this session?
Yeah.
You know, I forget how many bills we had brought to our committee, but the chairman decides which bills are heard,
Right.
which bills are voted out. It's
So
a very
tell me,
powerful
what would you
position.
what would you do differently? Because
Well,
it
first-
sounds like you're
yeah.
not willing to say, I'll only appoint Republicans.
Well, I haven't finished the answer. The issue was, I said, as lieutenant governor, I will not appoint half of the Democratic caucus as chairman of committees. That is what I said, and that is what I maintain. On day one, every committee chairmanship will be open. Every one.
Yeah.
It will be, it's a reset button.
Yeah.
And we'll review every committee, and we will select the very best people that I believe have the experience, the conservative credentials,
Yeah.
to chair those committees. Could there be one? Could there be two? There won't be 6. And furthermore, picking up on what the lieutenant governor said,
Yeah.
and I don't know, there may be none. In other words,
There could be none.
yeah, I'm going to interview people. I'm going to ask them what
Yeah.
where they stand on issues, what they want to accomplish.
Right.
And so it could be none, could be one, could be 2.
Does this not beg the question, Chairman, of whether you're running to be Lieutenant Governor of only Republicans or of all Texans? If you're talking about governing the body in such a way that you would entertain having no Democratic chairs, are you running to be Lieutenant Governor of the whole state or just of the Republican Party?
I'm running to be a bold conservative who's going to pass conservative legislation that our voters
Yeah.
have wanted passed for a decade, that have sat on the shelf,
Yeah.
that leadership has not gotten behind. And if that means that a Democrat is not a chair of a committee to get that legislation passed,
So be it.
so be it.
Yeah.
I proved this session that I can work very well with my Democrat colleagues
Yeah.
in education. We passed a lot of legislation. Some people say some of the biggest reform we've ever passed. And I passed it, a lot of the bills passed 28-3, 29-2, 31-0,
Yeah.
because I listened. Just because they're not chairman of committees doesn't mean they're not going to have input, doesn't mean we're not going to listen.
But you recognize, Chairman, that if you took the step of having no Democrats be chairman, it wouldn't be unprecedented. It would be almost unprecedented in the history of the Senate. It would be a big step to take.
I intend to take big steps as lieutenant governor. It's time we had a lieutenant governor
Yeah.
that takes big steps, and be respectful of the other side. But one other issue, just out of that to
Yeah.
conclude on that, I thought it was interesting that lieutenant governor didn't know how many chairmen of committees were Democrats. He had his number wrong. He didn't know how many committees there were.
Right.
But the most telling thing he said, and they're not important committees. What does that really say? First of all, it says, if they're not important, why do we have them wasting taxpayer money to fund those committees? If they're not important, get rid of them. But I would differ. I would suggest that criminal justice is an important committee. I would suggest that Veteran Affairs is an important committee. I would suggest that IGR, that deals with many city and county.
Yeah.
My point is that if a committee really isn't important, then it should be gone. So the lieutenant governor has to decide what side does he stand for. If
Right.
these aren't important, get rid of them. And if that happened, he'd get rid of all the chairs too.